Why are you laughing already?
The text messages I'm getting from
Oh,
people.
okay.
If it's any indication that I replied naughty, naughty. Just let your mind wander.
You haven't lost your sense of humor, have
No,
you?
goodness, no.
Your questions should be answered first before people get email. So the typed up sheet or the email questions are probably all in those two.
I totally agree with you, though.
I have 1 minute after.
Are we speaking into the microphone?
I'm
Yes.
waiting, yes.
And I try to speak as close, not breathing into it, but as close as you can.
Words.
When we got the sound working yesterday, where you like on the playback, you can't hear anybody.
Testing.
You can hear everyone's breaths if they got close enough. It's live.
I saw that.
It's live. It's not live up there, but it's,
Mr. Speaker, I'd
it's
like
not
to
live.
retract my comments from the record.
I'd like to retract my breathing.
Yes.
Unless you can project.
They all took voice lessons. Diaphragm.
I don't know why you think I have genetics for writing.
You could read my mind, couldn't you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, guys. Are we ready? Are these on? Testing, 1, 2. Yes, they're on. Alright. Good evening. Welcome to tonight's forum. We are featuring State Senate District 17. I want you to know a little bit about PAVE. We are a nonpartisan group that models its forum format after the League of Women Voters. I am Ronnie Perry Sharp. I am your moderator for this evening. On behalf of PAVE, thank you for being here tonight. I recognize some of you from last night. This is exciting that you take your candidates so seriously. You want to come hear their views, and hopefully it will help you, inform you to make a more educated decision on these candidates. On behalf of PAVE, thank you for tuning in and showing up tonight. We would like to thank the City of Shawnee and the City Manager for making these facilities available. Also, thanks to PAVE members for their efforts to make tonight possible. It does take some preparation, organization, and planning to produce one of these. And thanks to the candidates that have worked with PAVE and understand the needs and getting the word out. I'd like to go over our PAVE candidate procedures right now. Each candidate will be invited to make opening remarks limited to 3 minutes each and closing statement limited to 2 minutes. After opening statements, the forum will be open to written questions, which you have already provided and started. After our opening statements, the forum will be open to written questions previously submitted and screened. All candidates for the same position will be given the opportunity to respond if so desired. Responses to questions will be limited to 1 minute, and you will be timed closely. Workers will screen questions in advance to combine duplications and eliminate inappropriate questions. Candidates will receive notification, if you'll look right over here, of expiration of time when speaking or responding to questions. Following 30 seconds prior to time, you'll see the yellow spot. Thank you. And at time of expiration, we got the red light going. Campaign materials, as you're already aware, including clothing, may not be displayed in this room or in the forum. Candidates should arrive 15 minutes early to finalize details and receive seating instructions. Now, we all know where we're headed, where we're going, and let's get on with this forum. Yes? She's going to stop the whole thing. Oh, my.
So I want to make sure, are we following what you said
Yes,
instead of what's written here?
yes.
Okay, so.
We
say
do
it's on
3
slide.
minutes, yes. 3,
1, 2.
got it. We're organized. We've got this thing together. School teacher.
Let me write that down really quick.
And by the way, tonight, the questions, they have been determined by drawing or flipping of a coin. Everybody has received their order. Ron Sharp will be first, Shane Jett will be second, and Rachel Milo will be third. So, let's get this started, and we will hear from Ron Sharp first.
Thank you very much for showing up this evening, and I certainly want to thank PAVE for hosting this debate tonight, this conference that we're having. I'm looking forward to your questions. My name is Ron Sharp, and for all of my life I have lived in Senate District 17, and I am proud to call it my home. I taught school for 38 years, taught U.S. government, and I had a passion for teaching government, and my students for 23 consecutive years selected me to Who's Who among American teachers, which is a great honor since they're the ones who nominated me. I also taught tennis here at Shawnee. We had a very successful tennis program, one of the best, in my opinion, in the United States, and most other polls selected us as one of the top 5 in the nation in most of those years. I had 43 All-Staters, I think 18 All-Americans. It was quite a run that we had here, and I was very proud to be their coach, and they gave me, with their successes, many awards that I'm very proud of. As a senator, I was most of all interested in economic development, and one of the first things that I did in economic development was to negotiate a deal with the School Land Commission to change property from the strip mall, which is now located off of I-40 in Kickapoo, and to move that, they purchased property in Oklahoma City. And that is kicking off. I noticed that Burlington Coat Factory is going to be coming down here pretty soon. So the economic condition of the state of Oklahoma and Shawnee, Oklahoma is improved, and I hope that I was a part of that. I was also responsible for the Kickapoo Turnpike. The Eastern Economic Development Corporation came to me and said that they needed transportation in Eastern Oklahoma County due to flooding. So I pushed through the Turnpike Authority of which to build that. It took a tremendous amount of effort, but at the same time, when it was decided that they were going to build the Kickapoo Turnpike and it hooked it up to the Choctaw exit in that area, I increased the amount of time of which it was going to build the 6th laning of I-40, some 15 years. So we were successful in getting that. They are now working on the 6th laning. This is all going to be economic development. In education, Marty Lewis and I were responsible for making legislation for the STEM program, and the entire nation has copied our program here that we have started for science, technology, engineering, and math. I'm very proud of that. I have a 100% rating with teachers, 100% rating with the Farm Bureau, and 97% with READ, which is business development. Appreciate y'all. Thank you.
By the way, Ron and I are not related. The only thing we have in common, we go to the same dry cleaners, and they tried to give me his clothes, and they tried to give him my clothes. Now, he looks better
I
in
tried
mine.
not to give them back, but
Just that little tidbit there. All right, next on the agenda, we will hear from Shane Jett.
Thank you, Ronnie. Ronnie and I also are not related, but I adopt her, so we're both from Tecumseh. We love Ronnie Sharp. My name is Shane Jett. It's an honor to have served this community of 90,000 people, families stretching from Luther all the way down to Asher and Wanette. I see we have Asher residents and a Luther residence here, the Donkey Dairy up in Luther. I'm proud to represent their family donkey farm up there. I have lived in this community, worked in this community, and grew up in this community. My family settled here in 1919. My mom and dad owned the property where my dad was born, and I'm proud to say my parents are here today. David and Beverly Jett, if y'all will wave, are here. So if I do well today, I'll get an attaboy at the end of the evening. My wife is here, Anna Jett. She does not like to be recognized, but I couldn't do what I do without her. Our daughters, Raquel, Esther, and Sarah are here. And my staff, Zoe Davis, is here. She's the friendly face that answers the phone whenever you guys call the office up at the Capitol. So thank you, Zoe, for being here. This community is important to me. I have been urged by consultants to run negative campaigns, and my wife and I have already been very careful. We live in this community. We respect the people of this community. We don't own this seat. You do. And I have been honored to have your permission to serve you and represent you and take care of the calls when people call. Usually if there's a crisis that families go into, they're going to call their pastor for prayer, their police for protection, or their politician if they have nowhere else to turn. And so we field those calls and do our best to take care of you and your family whenever you call. So that's an honor to me. I grew up in Tecumseh, went to Oklahoma Baptist University, got a business degree, and when I served in the House of Representatives for 6 years, I got out for 10 years, was in the private sector, was in banking and finance. President Donald Trump appointed me to United States Treasury, where I served for 3.5 of his 4 years in the White House as an advisor to U.S. Treasury. I also taught at St. Gregory's University. I taught world geography and U.S. government, so a lot of fun working with young people. I always enjoyed that. I have been a strong supporter of public education my entire career. It is very well documented, and have been supported by the education community, and will continue to do that, because strong public education is how we get great employees for our businesses, and my commitment to that is unwavering. I also am very supportive of parents who sometimes have different requirements in their life that need alternatives. So I'm always looking out to try to find out what's the best solution for the challenges facing real families with real needs in the district. I'm grateful to PAVE and Ronnie Sharp and all of the ladies who make this possible. And I look forward to representing you again for another 2 years, God willing, and with your permission.
And now we will hear from candidate Rachel Milo.
Thank you, Ronnie, and good evening to everybody. Thank you for giving up your evening to become more educated about this position in each of the candidates. Each of us appreciate your desire to learn and to vote. I humbly come before you today as a candidate for State Senate District 17. I'm driven by a deep passion for our communities and a steadfast commitment to progress. In a field of experienced politicians, I'm bringing you learnings from the business sector, from my ranching upbringing, and I truly believe that sets me apart. Together, we have a lot of great things we can do in our community. I grew up in Sulphur, Oklahoma. My mom is a travel agent. My dad is a farmer and rancher. My mother is now spending her days volunteering to help that city recover, kind of like we did a year ago. So please continue to keep them in your prayers. I came to OBU on a track and field scholarship. I ran track and got a degree in education, both an undergraduate degree in education and a master's degree in education with a principal's and superintendent certification from Southern Nazarene. I worked in the business sector. I currently teach as an adjunct professor at OBU. I teach small business marketing. I have been a mentor for the George W. Bush Women in Fellowship mentorship program. I have been asked to speak at the International Economic Development Conference or Council on empowering women business owners. I ran our local economic development organization for almost 3 years, and while there, I was a part of helping George Fisher expand their manufacturing to include the expansion of more than 250 new jobs. I also had the opportunity to restart the Manufacturers Coalition and to be a part of helping our educators and education system align their pathways and programs with our current workforce needs. I think that is one of the key areas where we can focus as legislators, is aligning our education to our workforce needs. I hope that my experience can help with that. Again, I am honored to be here, and I am thankful to each of you who spent your time this evening, and I hope that all of you have your questions answered this evening and or feel comfortable reaching out to each of us afterwards. God bless.
I have one question. I don't know if you all have this question. When do you all sleep? I mean, my God, you're so busy and active. I'm not getting an answer. You don't. All right, our first question. Describe your experience of working with a diverse group of people in problem solving and project work. Rachel.
I'm going to remind them real quick, you have 1 minute to answer, and I'll flash that at 30 seconds to expression.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Do you mind reading the question?
Describe your experience of working with a diverse group of people in problem solving and project work.
Sure. Variety of things. I owned a small business. I owned Whistle Boutique on Kickapoo for 7 years, and I hired employees from the age of 15 to 65, and that was a diverse skill set and experience level. I had Native Americans, I had Caucasians, I had African Americans, people of all types working for me, and together we operated and ran that business, and I mentored more than 75 women to help them run small businesses.
Excellent. Shane Jett, same question. Describe your experience of working with a diverse group of people in problem solving and project work.
A number of examples come to mind, but probably the best one was at 11 years as a Navy intelligence officer working in counterterrorism finance. I had a group of diverse from various regions that were in the military. We had Marines, Air Force, and Navy personnel from both men, women, and from the Hispanic community, Black community. And at the end of the day, the only thing that mattered was making sure the warfighter downrange had the information they need to be able to achieve the mission and could come home to their family. So that's really the focus, is making sure that what really matters is taking care of the community and taking care of the mission.
Ron Sharp, describe your experience of working with a diverse group of people in problem solving and project work.
Anytime you're a school teacher for 38 years, you have worked with a lot of different types of children. And of course I was honored of which to work. Some of my students were absolute geniuses, and some, of course, we had to modify their academic performance so that they could graduate under learning disabilities. So you learn how to deal with children. As a senator, of course, I had to work with various groups of which to get economic development. You have to work with various individuals getting, whether or not they're for marijuana, or for those that wanting medical positions of which. So you have a whole diverse group of individuals that you have to work with whenever you're a state senator of which to get legislation done. And I never refused anyone's call, no matter what. I called them back.
This next question is for all of you. Oklahoma has had a system of turnpikes for over half a century. Can anything be done to ensure the turnpikes are paid off in the years to come as new ones are wanting to be built. Perhaps we could end some of these funds for the turnpikes. What can be done to ensure that turnpikes are
Your duplicates, just the top.
I shan't read it twice. Thank you. All right, we will start with Shane Jett.
The turnpike was supposed to have been a temporary solution to funding roads. H.E. Bailey was the one that was brought in by Henry Bellman to begin the turnpike system. And the intention was, once they paid themselves off, then they become part of the free road inventory. What they figured out was it was a tremendous money generator, and so they began to build roads that would not have enough traffic to pay itself off, and then cross-hypothecate, which basically says you take this road and you use the indebtedness from this road to cover the other roads. So they are intentionally making sure that they're building more highways than they'll ever pay off for the purpose of continuing this racket of charging us to use our own highways. I ran legislation to try to address it. I will continue to push on that because we need to have the right to ride on our own highways without having to pay tolls to do so, because that's what was promised to the people, and that promise was broken.
Same question, do you need me to reread it?
No. The Turnpike Authority was actually started in 1947 by Governor Turner, and the first highway was I-44 going from Tulsa to Oklahoma City. The people of Oklahoma liked, although it was actually presented by Governor Turner as a temporary, in 1954, the people of Oklahoma by referendum approved the Turnpike Authority. The condition is that the ODOT, Oklahoma Department of Transportation, does not have that on their plan of which to build that road. So that is how that got started. It would probably take some type of referendum by the people of which to eliminate that, since that's the ones who started in 1954, the Turnpike Authority.
Thank you. Same question goes to Rachel Milo.
I am clearly between two history buffs, so I'll spare all of those details and just tell you that if the solution is that you would need to go to the people to change that, then I would look into that while in office.
Thank you. Next question, and we will start with Rachel Milo. What is your position on public education versus private school vouchers? How will you ensure rural systems aren't hurt by this divesting of essential funds?
In 1 minute, that is not answerable. However, I am a believer that we need all forms of education and opportunities, just as our workforces look different today than they did pre-COVID, and how each of us work and how each of us learn is different. We've been preaching in our schools and our education systems for decades that not all children learn the same, and so I believe we have to offer all the varieties of education. The intricacies of the voucher system is very complex, and I will defer to our current legislators who have passed that legislation to know the complete details of it. But in short, I would just tell you I'm in support of offering all types of education in Oklahoma.
I think then the next one to answer that is Shane Jett.
I have made it abundantly clear my allegiance is to families. I represent families. I don't represent state government to families. I represent families to the state government, make sure that state government is taking care of families. So if a family wants to put their child in a Christian school, that is their prerogative. They want to put in an alternative school. It fits the needs, suits the needs of the family. So we pass legislation to allow that, and the rules are being promulgated so it can be rolled out for this year. But I'm for all of the above. But this is the important part. Public schools will never go away, and rural public schools in particular serve the needs of those communities. I don't expect that there will be private schools popping up in those low population areas, and the rural public schools are some of the best in the state. So bottom line is families come first. Having an opportunity to go to a free public school or look at alternatives is something that is in the best interest of everyone. An educated populace creates great workforce creates economic opportunity.
Wow. Same question to Ron Sharp.
I am supportive of the tax credit system, which was, credit system that was approved last year. I would have voted yes on that. I do have trouble with vouchers, and I think most would have problems with vouchers, and the fact that it's going to favor the rich, which are already going to private schools, and that would be at a detriment to your public schools. I do not want to take funds from Asher, Macomb, Shawnee, Tecumseh, which are very dependent upon state funds, and these vouchers would come from state funds and not from ad valorem. So I would be very hesitant of which to vote for vouchers here in the state of Oklahoma.
Thank you. Next question. Every candidate in this race goes to church, has a family, is tight-fisted, and likes guns. What sets you apart in this crowd and will allow you to accomplish legislation for folks of different cultures, backgrounds, or circumstances? Ron Sharp.
Well, I have a 100% rating with the NRA, and I'm very proud of that. I'm a member of the NRA. I am not wanting to arm second graders. That would not be obviously something I would support, but I do support everyone's right here as an American of which to carry guns. It is something of which would be impossible of which to take away, and I think that we must always direct ourselves to the freedoms of Americans first before we start taking away those freedoms.
Same question, Rachel Milo.
The question about what makes you different to be able to work with diverse groups. I've worked in almost all 50 states as a NCAA women's basketball referee, and I have trained NBA and WNBA officials in my past, and they are from every walk of life. I have been on mission trips to Ghana. I have done mission trips in New Mexico, and I have led effective change in a variety of situations. We are a very diverse district, and I've learned that going door to door, and I believe that really the main thing is we have to be collaborative, and we have to be willing to work together with people who are not exactly like us.
Same question goes to Shane Jett.
Could you reread the question?
I sure could. Every candidate in this race goes to church, has a family, is tight-fisted, and likes guns. What sets you apart in this crowd and will allow you to accomplish legislation for folks of different cultures, backgrounds, or circumstances?
So when I run, I always focus on what do I bring to the table and how can I serve. And when it comes to serving the community, you have to respond to the needs as they're presented to you. I remember one time I was in Maud, Oklahoma, and a gentleman said, "Shane, I like you, I like your dad, and I like you fine, son, but I'm a yellow dog Democrat, and I just can't vote Republican." And I said, "No problem." I said, "Look, I'm working really hard to get elected, and if I am elected, if you ever call my office and ask for help, I'm not going to ask you how you're registered. I'm just going to ask you how I can help you." And that philosophy is what I look at. It's about you. How can I be of assistance to you? I answer to you. I'm your voice.
Thank you. Next question, and we will begin with Shane Jett. How long have you been registered as a Republican? Have you attended county or district meetings, and were you at the Oklahoma GOP State Convention this month?
So I registered to vote on my birthday, on my 18th birthday in Tecumseh, Oklahoma, with the registrar, and the registrar was indignant and demanded to know, "Does your granddaddy know you're registering Republican?" And I said, I don't think he gets a say, ma'am. So I have been a Republican when they were spraying for Republicans in South Pottawatomie County. I remember when we could meet at the First United Bank in the foyer because there was only 4 or 5 of us, and I was the only one there under 50. We've grown a lot, and we've become the majority party. But I have made a commitment to the Pottawatomie County Republican. I've been there every single meeting unless I had to be elsewhere on Senate duty. So I'm very engaged, very part of the Republican Party. I was at the convention, and I have been a stalwart conservative since I was listening to Rush Limbaugh, Paul Harvey, and read Ronald Reagan's autobiography.
You got it all in. Okay, Rachel Milo, same question. Would you like me to repeat it?
No, ma'am.
All right.
I've been registered Republican as long as I can remember. Again, I'm not the history buff, so I don't remember the date, time, or place. But as long as I can remember, and that was in Sulphur, Oklahoma, is where I first registered. I have been to many county meetings, city meetings. I did not go to the GOP meeting.
Short, sweet, to the point. All right. Ron Sharp, same question.
I have been a Republican since the early 1990s. Before that, I was a Democrat. Whenever I registered to vote, since I'm probably twice as old as most of these individuals here, that's the only party of which you could possibly join at that point in time and have any input. It's similar to the situation right now that we're having with Republicans, is the fact that if you register Democrat or Independent, you will never get to vote. So I asked my father which political party I should join, and he said Democrat, because of the fact that he wanted to be a part of a system, and then in the general election, you can vote for who you want to.
Thank you. Next question. What do you see as the one biggest issue facing the state of Oklahoma, and how does it affect our district? We'll start with Ron Sharp.
I think mental health issues are the main category, whether we're talking about mental health in our public schools. Our children are going through divorce, poverty, fetal alcohol syndrome, fetal drug syndrome. We have a tremendous problem in our public schools with these children having trauma, and they're even developing some type of trauma-based curriculum of which to try to address those issues. Of course, also another issue is mental health issues among the homeless that we have to address. So that would be the number one issue that I would look at right now as a state senator in this particular area.
Same question, candidate Rachel Milo.
You know, I agree, Ron, that mental health is a major issue for our state, and we see it appear in our schools, we see it appear in our workplace, we see it appear in our families, and it's very important. But I think one of the things that we can also do as a state legislator is also think about what's impacting every single one of us, which is our pocketbook. You know, with the inflation, the costs of goods, the results of COVID, and our home prices, our fuel prices, et cetera, all going up, that hits every single one of us, and it's hitting us deeply. And so I think the state legislators have to focus on every possible facet of helping us with more of our take-home check.
Shane Jett, what do you see as the one biggest issue facing the state of Oklahoma, and how does it affect our district?
That's a difficult question, and I think we're getting hit on multiple fronts. I think where most people are feeling it is in their pocketbook because of the tremendous amount of spending that happened during COVID. The superfluous spending by the federal government is causing inflation. Inflation is a way to take money or value out of the money that you put aside for emergencies. That's the reason why we passed the grocery tax. I was author of a grocery tax bill. Also was pushing for income tax, which is something I'm even more excited about because working families can put more of their money in at home. If they need it on groceries, it's there. If they need it for something else, it's there. So economically, that's where we're having a tremendous impact. And I think the other thing that really impacts that is we have people that are serving in the legislature who say one thing to their constituents and do another when they get to the state capitol. And that's been frustrating to me to see my colleagues who says one thing behind closed doors and do another thing. We need to have representatives who actually reflect the values they campaign on.
Thank you. Emergency teacher certificates are at an all-time high. What will you do to help parents who want real teachers in the classroom? Rachel?
So, yes, we have a lot of certified teachers out of a need. I think the question here is really what is the root cause of those gaps in our schools? And we are in a place where our teachers need resources. They need resources for the things we've talked about, the trauma, the mental illness, educating in new technologies, in new ways, in new formats. And so the best thing we can do is to help our educators have the resources that they need so that they choose to stay in the classroom. And we don't have to have as many certified teachers filling those gaps.
Ron Sharp, same question.
I think the number one problem in our public education system is the fact that many of our teachers do not feel that they're supported by the legislature. They're being criticized for pushing socialist communist doctrine, their critical race theory, social emotional learning. They're getting so hit by many of these attacks, and also the fact that in a period of about 5 years we changed the curriculum 4 times. And they're just wanting some consistency at one point in time, and they're frustrated. And that, of course, for years there, one of these times that I was teaching school, we were using an American history textbook that had went through 5 certifications, and we could not get new textbooks. So it was, and of course science also had the problem, math, so it was becoming just a little bit ridiculous, and the frustration of not having pencil and paper and so forth at our public schools. So it's just the frustration that they do not feel like they're getting the support from the community. And that is which we're going to have to change this doctrine.
Time. Same question. Shane Jett. And you answer.
Can you reread the question?
Of course not, because I just lost my card. What do you see as the one biggest issue facing the state of Oklahoma, and how does it affect our district?
No, it's the certification question.
Certification question. Well, you don't get to answer it. Oh, Lord.
Here, Ronnie, I'll do.
Thank you.
Emergency teacher certificates
Yeah.
are at an all-time high. What will you do to help parents who want real teachers in the classroom?
And I just found it.
I think we got it, Ronnie. We're good. So yes, emergency certificates for trying to address the shortage in the classroom. The question is, how do we help parents who want to make sure they have certified teachers in the classroom or qualified teachers in the classroom? What I'm hearing from the district, from this district in particular, is what can we do to make sure that our students are safe in the classroom? And what can we do to make sure that the good teachers who follow the rules report problems with problem teachers and then do not get results to remove teachers who are hurting children? And then there's the mantra, well, if you criticize public schools at all, then you're against public schools. And that's ridiculous. That's like a teenage child saying, if you want me to clean my room, then you hate me. It's silliness. But at the end of the day, schools have to be safe. First and foremost, whenever parents are driving away in the rearview mirror, that school's getting smaller, they have to know one thing: my child is safe with the adults I've trusted them with. And that has been my focus since I got into the legislature, and it will continue to be my focus.
Okay, here we go. What do you see as the one biggest issue facing, we're going to do this one again, because that wasn't fair to Shan. She's looking at me like, no, we don't need to. All right, adding a little levity. Let's go on to our next one. What is your stance on biosolids, also known as human manure, on Oklahoma farm and ranch land? And we will let Rachel Milo start this one.
You keep choosing me first. I don't know if I know how to answer that question, so I will defer.
All right, Shane Jett, would you like to answer that question?
Certainly. So humanure is human waste that comes from large municipalities. They put lime in it, and then they spread it over farmland, and they label it safe. And the truth is, it has pharmaceuticals in it, it has Drano in it, it has spray foam in it. Anything that you flush down the toilet, whether you're a commercial business or a residential, ends up in tankers and gets sprayed over fields. And then that runs off into your water supply and can soak into the ground. When you put lime in it, it actually creates a respiratory response that makes inflames your lungs, and then any bacteria that's airborne or aerosolized will end up in your lungs, and it can cause all kinds of health issues. I ran 2 pieces of legislation. In fairness, that's something I've been working on in the Oklahoma County portion of my Senate district, and we're trying to put legislation in place to require them to fully report to the farmers what's actually in this sludge that's being spread over the farmland. It is contaminating land, and it's dangerous.
I've just learned something. Okay. Yes. Okay, Ron. Yes,
You want to answer that question?
please.
As a senator, I was actually contacted by a couple of farmers in the Jones-Luther area, of which this human waste was being used on farmland. It is legal, but I was able to get Senator Langford and Senator Inhofe at the time of which to put an end to it. It is dangerous. It should not be allowed because of all the problems of which it creates with the runoff, and there's some individuals that don't want it going into your lakes and streams. So it is not a good idea. And again, I was able to get Senator Langford and Senator Inhofe of which to stop that in the Luther Jones area.
Excuse us.
I'm not the senator.
Oh, yeah. We can't take your comments from the audience. Sorry. It's one of the rules. All right, our next question. Regardless of being state choice or self-choice concerning abortions, do you consider your constituents intelligent enough to have the right to vote on this? And we will start with Shane Jett.
Yes. I always respect the right of my citizens to choose. I serve you. So if we have a referendum and allow the people to vote, I respect that.
Same question to Rachel Milo.
Yes, everyone in this room is intelligent enough to vote on ideas of their own.
Same question.
Oklahoma is a state that has always relied on voter participation. We are probably lead the nation in petitions of which to allow the people of which to vote. We have approved a number of them, and we have voted several down. This is one of which the Dobbs decision, Mississippi is allowed by the Supreme Court of which to allow now the states of which to vote upon, and if we want to vote on it, I think the legislature has already made their decision, which I voted 100% into eliminating abortions here in Oklahoma, but if the people want to vote upon it, we should have that opportunity.
Thank you. Next question, where do you stand on federal funds being given to Oklahoma, specifically District 17 over our state and district producing its own funds? Shane Jett. I know that's hard to understand. Shall I read it one more time? Okay, I didn't write it, but I'll read it one more time. Where do you stand on federal funds being given to Oklahoma, specifically District 17, over our state and district producing its own funds?
So if I understand correctly, how do I feel about federal funds coming into District 17? So for example, when we had a tornado come through, they declared an emergency in 2013. Those funds came from the federal government in 2023, 10 years later. So anytime you rely on the federal government, you're probably going to be disappointed. But when we send our tax dollars to Washington, D.C., after they spread it around and squander it and lose it here and there, if we can get it back into Oklahoma, I'm always looking for an opportunity to get Oklahoma revenues back into Oklahoma. And if there's any way we can prevent the federal government from getting it so we can keep more of it here, I think we'll do a better job with it than the federal government will.
Same question to Rachel Milo.
I like all funds in Oklahoma, quite frankly. So whether they are federal funds or we produce them or our small businesses produce them, yes, I'd like all funds to come to Oklahoma, and I don't believe it's an either or. I think we rely on all of them.
Mr. Sharp, would you like to respond?
Obviously, with our public education system, with all the mandates that are on them, for instance, 94-142, making all buildings accessible to the handicap, and of course then dealing with the learning disabilities, it would be impossible for Oklahoma which to come up with those funds of which to make up the difference of the federal government. The state budget of Oklahoma is somewhere of about $12 billion, but the total budget of Oklahoma is, with federal funds, nearly $30 billion. That just shows you, for instance, 80-20 grants for highway construction. We only have to come up with 20% of the funds for highway construction. The federal government will come up with 80%. So whether it's federal funds, of course, the state of Oklahoma just approved the Medicaid expansion, which we have to have those funds. That's somewhere about 90% of the federal funds and about 10% state funds. So if we had to take over all those areas of which the federal government would be in trouble.
Thank you. Next question. CPN is the largest employer in this district. How do you plan to work with tribal leaders? Ron Sharp.
Well, I've always been very appreciative of our tribes. They have pulled us through at least the last major economic recession that we had in about 2018. They kept us from collapsing. And I appreciate the CPN, which is the largest single employer. We got Sac and Fox, we got Kickapoo, we got Iowa, we got Shawnee Absentee Tribe, all hiring in our areas. I work very closely with every chief and continue of which to work forward with them.
Rachel Milo.
Sure. CPN is our largest employer, and there are an abundance of opportunities to work together with them. But representative of really all of our federally recognized tribes, I think we have to engage in government-to-government relations, recognizing and respecting their tribal sovereignty. I think we can use each other for consultation and collaboration because they have resources within the tribes that sometimes the cities and the states don't have. We also have education alignment, a lot of things we can work together in education. We also, disaster preparedness and response, we work together with them in that. And so I think CPN is a great partner, as well as many of our tribes in this area, or all of our tribes in this area. And I think it's very important that we actively work together.
Shane Jett, same question.
So Oklahoma has exactly 38 federally recognized tribes. 5 of them overlap in Senate District 17. I have an open door policy. Every single tribal leader has my cell phone. I would bet about 75% of the people here have my cell phone. I respond as quickly as I can. Sometimes I get overwhelmed with the amount of text messages, but bottom line is every single government, whether it's mayor, county, federal, state, or tribal, we all live in Oklahoma. We all have a vested interest in taking care of our people. And my position is very clear. I look out for the Senate District 17 and the people and families who live here. So as long as the tribes is aligned with that, we work together. If they're not aligned with that, then I'm happy to communicate with them and find ways that we can collaborate to improve the community. We all have a vested interest in having better roads, better bridges, and better relationships.
Thank you. Next question. What is your stance on mandatory vaccinations and the freedom of health choice? We will start with Shane Jett.
I have made it abundantly clear. In fact, I was in this room in July of 2020 when I spoke against the proposal to have police officers issuing citations for people in the open air not wearing a mask. I have stuck with that. I have worked towards freedom, trying to make sure that the federal government can't pressure private businesses to tell individuals that they have to take an injection in order to be able to work or visit a business. So at the end of the day, I always side on the side of freedom of an individual to be able to make health choice decisions that are best for them and their families. Big Brother is not allowed, and Big Brother should not be allowed to tell businesses that they're going to close them if they don't impose something that is not the right of the federal government to do to individuals.
Same question to Rachel Milo.
Sure. So when I was a child, I believe there were mandatory vaccines that I had to have to go to school. And so when we were children, there were some mandated vaccines that were extremely controversial when they were first introduced. I don't think that vaccines are something to be taken lightly. I don't believe that they are something that we should run through an FDA process as fast as we can. But I also know that our healthcare professionals and our leaders at that time were trying to make the best decisions that they could in real time, while all of us were trying as well to be safe and to keep our families safe. And so I do believe that we have to put all of the careful processes in place so that nothing makes it to market that's unsafe. And I know that that was an unprecedented event that we just dealt with.
Ron Sharp, what is your stance on mandatory vaccinations?
That it would probably be one of the most complex and difficult questions, and the answer is nothing simple. My great-grandparents, both of them died of poliomyelitis. I had a cousin who died of scarlet fever of 110 temperature. Of course, measles used to kill individuals, chickenpox. We've eradicated a lot of diseases, of which our children today do not have to have. The COVID was a problem of which we had never witnessed before, and they were taking chances of trying to figure out how to cope in a COVID world. So wearing a mask, if someone asks me to wear a mask, I don't care. Do I think that someone should be forced to take an injection of which they disagree with? No, they should not. But there are consequences to that, and how well you can get out into the public, going to a public school, going into a public building. The city council was looking after for liability, so that was the issue at that time.
Okay, here's another question. What political groups or nonprofits support your campaign? What favors do they expect? Mr. Sharp.
Well, I do not have any at this point in time. I just decided I had so many individuals asking me to run in my support of public education, and I would just basically said that I would run. I am running a shoestring type of campaign. I'm not even actually having a fundraiser. I'm just basically putting about signs, and I'm letting the people decide if they want me back as a legislator. I took on corruption. The corruption was immense. It was something of which should have been taken care of by the entire legislature of Oklahoma, and I was the only one speaking out, and I was the only one got hammered.
Same question, Rachel Milo. What political groups or nonprofits support your campaign, and what favors do they expect?
At this time, I have received no campaign contributions from not-for-profits or political groups.
Thank you. Same question, Shane Jett.
So I have been endorsed by the Oklahoma Second Amendment Association, which all they want is to preserve the freedom to keep and bear arms. I have been endorsed by the Oklahomans for Health and Parental Rights, what we affectionately refer to as the mama bears, who are just want to be able to make informed decisions about the health of their children. I have the National Rifle Association. So at the end of the day, the endorsements or support that I'm getting is supporting my voting record and just asking for a commitment to continue to support liberty. If you've seen a lot of postcards that have been coming in, it's from groups that are made up that dislike my legislation. They're liberal groups that want to get rid of me. It's probably a good indication that I'm doing a good job. I'm representing this community and not special interests, so special interests are sending in postcards to tell you I'm doing a bad job. At the end of the day, I represent this community, and if I was representing them, they'd send you postcards telling you how wonderful I was. So,
Little levity there. The state school superintendent constantly criticizes schools and educators, threatening their certificates at every turn. Why should educators trust you? Ron Sharp?
Well, I have a real problem with our state superintendent and the fact that he is constantly criticizing public education. I am a public school teacher. To make allegations without proof is something that's not within our rule of law. I am concerned about that his only objective is to proceed to higher office, and that when he's talking about accreditation, it's obvious that he has no idea what he's talking about, because the State Department of Education is not an accreditation agency, it's a licensing agency.
Rachel Milo, same question.
I concur with Ron. You know, we are in a different era than we were at one time, when coaches could yell at players and that was motivation. You know, that's not how we motivate today. And so to have a state superintendent believe that the way to motivate teachers is to threaten their certifications or to threaten their jobs, rather than coming to them and coaching and or participating in schools, you know, I'm just not okay with that method of improvement.
Same question, Shane Jett.
So Ryan Walters is elected by the people of Oklahoma, and his job is the Oklahoma State Department of Education superintendent. His job is to make sure that the laws that are passed by the legislature are being applied, and to make sure that if teachers are not taking care of their students, if they are hurting their students, that's the one way that he can make students safe, is by pulling those certifications. We received in the legislature, shortly after Ryan Walters was elected, a series of scans from a book that had horrible, sexually explicit, child-on-child sexual acts. And instead of the media saying, oh my goodness, look at what was available to middle school children in our public schools, they attacked him because he was sending pornography that's available to children through the capital mail system. Did he break state law? This is ridiculous. At the end of the day, if we have to pull a certificate of a teacher who is grooming children, then we should absolutely do this so parents know their children are safe in our public schools.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to give you a little lightweight question, because I know the answer that you're all going to give, because I see you in this community doing things. How are you involved with supporting our local community? Ron Sharp.
Well, I've always been and tried to be involved in our local community. I served back in the 1990s, early 2000, on the prison, this jail authority, and tried to get that in order, and we've got that built, and that was a major issue that we had here in the state, in this Potawatomi County, because our jail was in such bad condition, and trying to get that organized. It took many, many hours that we did before school and after school, of which I prepared for that. And of course, I've always been a part of the community through serving and helping co-ed and other groups, of which to get handicapped individuals, their areas of which to help them get into their houses. So I think that, as again, my church is very active with trying to help out the homeless. I help with them as much as I can. So I think I've done it all my life, particularly as a school teacher. Thank you.
Same question, Rachel Milo. How are you involved with supporting your community?
Sure. So several organizations that I participate with. One that I've been a member of the longest is the Shawnee Kiwanis Club. I've been a Kiwanis member for 24 years, I believe, and twice serving as president in each of the roles. And Kiwanis is a global organization dedicated to improving the lives of children and improving our community. I've also volunteered for United Way just recently, doing a door-to-door information to make sure that those homes that still had tornado damage were aware of the resources available to them. I volunteer at Jim Thorpe Academy for our alternative education program. I teach classes on interview skills to Worrell's Haven, which is a sobriety home. I also led the mentor program for 75 women at Whistle, to name a few.
Thank you. Same question. Shane Jett, how are you involved with supporting our local community?
So I'm a member of Emmanuel Baptist Church, and so we are engaged in a number of ministries there. I've been a member of a Bible distribution ministry since I was a sophomore at Oklahoma Baptist University, putting Bibles in jails and prisons and speaking at churches and raising funds. So that's where I really is my outlet for mission. I'm involved with the Potawatomi County Republican Party, but probably my biggest contribution to this community is my family. My wife is involved in Junior Service League. She volunteers at the soup kitchen. So they're doing a lot of activities. She brings the girls with them as well. Most of my time is spent at the Capitol, but my biggest contribution to this community is my 3 girls and my wife. I'm also involved with the Chamber, HERA, McLeod, Shawnee, Tecumseh. I'm a member of those chambers, and we often go to small businesses, and we can't promote the business with the name senator, but I can say how much I enjoyed visiting a certain business. And so I do that, try to highlight, especially after we lost so many during the tornado, so we go and highlight that. And then I also picked up a chainsaw and started cutting up limbs south of OBU during the tornado, so wherever we can.
What is your opinion on the negative ads that are being sent out that is not completely true and is misleading? Ron Sharp.
Goodness. In 2020, I believe Epic Charter School, according to just some research lately, has spent over $400,000 of your taxpayer dollars on dark money. And then, of course, there's another group, that American for Children, that spent nearly $200,000 on negative ads, of course, accusing me of sending money to Harvey Weinstein and other things that just absolutely amazing. Obviously, I'm against dark money. That's 501c4, and I would be interested as a senator to try to come up with truth in some type of political advertising to make sure and punish those individuals if they are actually saying something that is absolutely false, to fine them. And there's about 17 states that have got that legislation through, and we believe that that is constitutional.
What is your, Rachel, what is your opinion on the negative ads that are being sent out that is not completely true and is misleading?
So from what I hear, that's politics. So, it's one of those things that I think when we decided to sit up here and put our name on the ballot, we expect that people will send negative things about us. I think it's on it's our responsibility to not engage and to mimic that and not to do that ourselves. So to hold ourselves to a higher standard is what we're going to do our best to do. I think if we could pass a truth in advertising legislation, that would be great. It would be great to do that like the other 17 states. And so I would be in favor of that.
Thank you. Same question goes to Shane Jett.
So, so far, show of hands of anyone who's received postcards about me? Yeah. So, if you look at my voting record, I'm one of the top 4 most conservative, consistently representing taxpayer interest. And so if you're being attacked, it's going to be someone who disagrees with your voting record. So there has been so far 7 mail-outs, 2 district-wide text message blasts misrepresenting me. They're not attacking me because I'm a liberal. They're attacking me because I'm a conservative. And so you can look at any of the indices that register that. And so if I were, and I said this earlier, if I were a liberal, they'd be sending you postcards telling you how wonderful I am. They hide and bundle the money so that you can't tell where it's coming from, but at the end of the day, the consensus is anybody but me. I have served this community for 10 years in the legislature. I'm at the pinnacle of the experience that I bring to the fore. They don't play jokes or tricks on me. I represent you, and that's why they want me out of office.
Okay. All right. We have come to that time in our forum that we have our closing statements from our candidates, and Mr. Sharp, you were one.
Again, I thank you for coming here this evening. I know that you're taking out a lot of your time. Aristotle said man is by nature a political animal, and I've heard individuals say, well, I don't want to participate in our political system. Well, Edmund Burke said, if evil will come to this world when good men do nothing to prevent it. I'm wanting you to consider me as your state senator. I support public education. There are problems with it, as we all know. Every single entity out there has problems right now, and it always has problems. I've told people if people were disgusted or wanted to be a critic of Jesus Christ and they saw him walking on water, you could say, I told you he couldn't swim. And that's where you run into problems there's always going to be problems. We have to help public schools of which to educate our children properly, support them in their deeds, not to criticize them, not to make unfounded allegations, not to say that there are individuals that are grooming children without proof. You have to have proof in our court of law. You don't prosecute someone for thinking about something. That has to be done before you can actually prosecute someone into a court of law. So teachers, I had no idea what was going on at Shawnee High School. There was absolutely zero individuals that contacted my office, although the state senator now accused me of it on Facebook, that I knew what was going on. I didn't know what was going on out there. If I had, I'd have turned it over to the district attorney and let the district attorney do it. I have done my best as your state senator to promote positive legislation, not to make unfounded allegations. And that is where I'm having trouble with the current state senator, is the unfounded allegations that are being made. I would appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. We will next hear from Shane Jett.
Thank you, Ronnie. So it's an honor to represent this community. I have always been frank, straightforward, and sincere with my district. I have been accessible. I believe in transparency and accountability, and I believe in going to bat for the people who reach out to me and ask for assistance, and that's what I have done for the last 4 years. I serve in the legislature. You've seen the attack ads that are coming against me. I represent you, not those groups. And I serve for the same reason I swore an oath to the United States Constitution as a Navy intelligence officer, because there's things worth fighting for. This community and our values are worth fighting for. So there's going to be a lot of mudslinging, there's a lot of accusations, but at the end of the day, if you have a question, contact me, ask me. You have my mobile, and if you don't, if you leave tonight without it, that's on you. It's available to everybody. But this community is worth fighting for, our values are worth fighting for. I love the opportunity to serve this community, and I'm always looking for ways to build it, whether it's in the private sector or a temporary time that I can serve you. I've served for 10 years in the House, 6, and 4 in the Senate. I have 2 more years that I can serve you, and I'm at the pinnacle of the experience that I bring to the table that I will be able to apply for you and your family. So I would love to have your permission to represent you and serve you again for another 2 years. But this seat belongs to you, and I'm honored to be able to sit here and be part of this community. Thank you.
Next, we will hear from next candidate, Rachel Milo.
Again, thank you guys all for coming this evening, and thank you for giving of your time to become more educated on each of us, which are all three. While we believe in some of the same conservative values, we are also very different people. The definition of insanity is to continue doing the same thing and expect a different result. And if we're not happy with where we are at the moment, then I would suggest we do something different and expect a different result. And so tonight, I ask for your support and your trust. Together, we can harness the power of courage, of momentum, hard work, and big picture visioning for our district. I believe that together, we can continue to create opportunities for our young people. We can work to protect the retirements and the pensions of those who have worked before us. And I believe that we can continue to create and recruit jobs for those in the workforce. I ask that you please, with careful consideration, vote June 18th, vote Rachel Milo, and God bless you, and God bless Oklahoma.
Thank you. On behalf of PAVE, thank you, candidates, for participating. Thank you, audience, for participating, submitting your questions. And as we always say, democracy is not a spectator sport. Please go out and vote June the 18th. Thank you. Thank you.